Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be bringing you my review of Meme by Starmer. Now, Meme is a YA mystery thriller that follows our four main characters who commit a murder. They have murdered this boy in school, they've buried him out in the forest somewhere, and they have recorded these confession videos on these phones that they have wiped clean except for this confession video that they bury with this body. For kind of insurance purposes. So if anybody were to find the body, they kind of all go down for the same crime. One person can't throw the other person under the bus or anything. So they do that kind of as insurance purposes. One day a meme goes out onto the internet, starts getting shared around the school, that's using an image of this confession video. So that's kind of where this whole plot or this book kind of follows, is this whole mystery of who obtained this image, who has seen this video, is this boy actually dead or not, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to beat around the bush, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that I did not enjoy this book. I enjoyed probably the first 90% of this book. I want to say that it's probably one of my most disappointing reads I've ever read because of the fact that it was so strong throughout most of the novel, and then the last 10% was so disappointing that it ended up ruining this book for me in such a way that an ending has never done for me before. So at the beginning of this novel, you get a lot of, or at least I did, a lot of kind of I know what you did last summer type vibes, where you have this group of teens that have committed a murder, nobody's supposed to know about it, and then, you have somebody that apparently knows about the murder and is kind of, slowly trying to track them down. You don't, unfortunately, have this, type of serial killer aspect in this book. You just have them kind of paranoid at the fact that somebody out there has watched this video, has shared an image of it using a meme, and then they're kind of trying to slowly figure out if the boy that they killed is actually dead or not. What kind of connections he has with the people around him. He was apparently this boy that was murdered was very good at like hacking and computer skills and stuff. So they know that there's something going on when these images starts getting shared after his death. Now, like I said, Meme was one of those books that hooked me from the very beginning. Literally from chapter 1, I was intrigued to see what was going to happen with these characters, how their story was going to develop, what was going to happen with this mystery, and, just wanting to know like kind of how everything happened, if this boy was actually dead or not, how these other kind of side characters shared some kind of connection with him, and how he was able to kind of pull off the things that he pulled off. Again, I feel so betrayed by this book, because when you get hooked into a book so quickly and you are kind of gripped throughout the entire thing, just to be kind of let down at the very, very end, it's just kind of, it leaves a very bitter taste in your mouth, honestly. I mean, you have, different perspectives throughout this novel. Obviously, you're getting a different perspective from each kid. And I don't want to go into much spoilers or anything in here, but the very, very last chapter, you get thrown in with a final perspective that you hadn't gotten throughout the entire book. And this final chapter with this final perspective kind of tells you most of what you need to know. And I did not like that about it. I mean, you're getting a lot of telling instead of showing throughout this novel. You're being told that this kid that died deserved to die because he was bad. And you really don't see throughout the novel at all any kind of chapters where they're kind of showing how bad this kid is. I mean, if you have this group of kids that murdered somebody, you want to feel that they had some kind of justifiable reason to kill this boy in their school. And he's not only just a random boy, but he was also part of their friend group as well. So they were all friends with this one kid that they all kind of came together and decided they wanted to kill because they felt threatened by him. And you never see that throughout the novel. And that was one of my biggest gripes, is the fact that I was waiting and waiting and waiting to get this chapter of why they finally decided to kill this guy, and showing us how bad this kid was, and we never get that. So I mean, the whole reasoning as to why these kids did what they did was probably one of the weakest parts of this book, and really didn't justify anything that they did after that. You also randomly get some aspects in this book that don't really move the plot along, that don't really do anything, that don't really add to the book, and then you question why the author decided to add those things in there. There's a random scene in there that it's not a spoiler because obviously it has nothing to do with the rest of the plot, but a random side character comes in and tries to sell one of our main characters these stolen vats of maple syrup. And then nothing goes from there. They decide not to go through with the sale, and nothing happens after that. I mean, this other character doesn't really have any connections or much connection with the main character, or at least the boy that they killed. It was very random that they would add kind of this aspect into this book when it did nothing for the mystery, and it didn't really give us any answers as far as the main kind of plot went. So I wonder why the author decided to add those things in there. As well, you kind of notice at the end, I don't know if this was just like rushing the book to get it into print, or somebody was just a little bit lazy with their editing or something, but the last couple of chapters you start to notice grammatical errors throughout it. I don't think they were done on purpose. I mean, or obviously a wrong word was used in its place, so you can see these kind of smaller grammatical errors at the very end of the book, which is very random because the rest of the book you don't have grammatical errors until the last couple of chapters. So again, it makes me think that it was rushed. Again, with the whole tacking on that final chapter of this perspective you hadn't gotten in the rest of the novel, and then having those grammatical errors, it just makes me think that this book was very rushed, that it wasn't finished. I feel like there were so many things that were missing from this book. I mean, it's a very short book. It's about 275 pages or so, and it would have benefited from being much longer, so we can at least get more explanation. I mean, even if we would have gotten a couple of chapters about the boy who was murdered, doing things that justified him getting murdered. I mean, obviously, murder isn't justifiable, but at least make us feel like, okay, maybe he did deserve it, or, he was a bad guy, I guess. So I understand, I guess, what they did, because they were so, I guess, afraid of this kid. That's the thing that they keep kind of repeating throughout this book, is that they were afraid for their lives, and they were afraid, and they felt threatened that this guy was still around, and they were doing everybody a favor by murdering this boy, and nobody was going to miss him. And you don't see that throughout the novel. You don't get to that point where you're agreeing with these characters for doing what they did. So in the end, Meme, again, like I said, was very enjoyable up until the very end, where it just completely let me down, and it just made me hate this book. I tend to not really hate books because of its ending. I kind of, try and give them the benefit of the doubt. Even if it doesn't have the strongest ending, I will still remember enjoying most of the book. But this is one of those rare occasions where the ending just completely ended up destroying my experience of this book. I gave this like a 2.5 stars, and that's pushing it. I would not read this book again. If you guys want to go ahead and check it out on your own to see kind of what I mean by it, definitely read it just so that I can discuss this with somebody, because I feel like I need more people to read this book just to see if other people think the same thing I did, because I was just so angry by the end of this novel. So yeah, guys, that is it for my review of Meme by Aaron Starmer. Comment down below, let me know if you guys have read this book. Again, I would absolutely love to talk to some people about this one, because it made me so bitter. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.